Welcome to the Record Machine Show, a podcast featuring interviews from indie and renowned artists from all genres of music. Now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
Welcome to the Record Machine Show. I'm James Michael Hollenstein, and today's episode dives deep into a story that's raw, real, and as powerful as rock and roll itself. My guest is Bruce Fulford, the driving force behind Color of Noise, an artist, producer, recording engineer, and multi-instrumentalist whose latest album, Noise Therapy, was literally forged in fire and rebirth. Bruce created this record as a form of self-healing after surviving one of the darkest and most turbulent times of his life, a relationship that spiraled into years of emotional and legal chaos. After 21 court appearances, he turned pain into purpose, recording much of the album while living in a tiny home tucked away in the Malibu mountains. Later, he found redemption and closure, mixing the record aboard an old boat he converted into a floating studio, a sanctuary on water that became both his creative space and his therapy. But Bruce's story doesn't end there. He's also known for his work with Lustra, playing on their Billboard charting hit, Scotty Doesn't Know, from the movie Eurotrip, performing with Ard Matthews and earning recognition for his award-winning film and TV compositions. Today, we're diving deep into a story of resilience, healing, and redemption, the kind music can only tell. We're featuring 3 powerful tracks from the upcoming album Noise Therapy: My Way, Lazy Daisy, and Sleepless Nights. Each one born from struggle, shaped by truth, and delivered straight from the heart. So get ready to feel it, turn it up loud, and let's put the needle to the record. Here's My Way by Color of Noise, right here on the Record Machine Show. You just heard My Way by Color of Noise, and I've got Bruce on the line for a chat. So how you doing, Bruce?
Fantastic, man. How are you, James?
I'm doing good. It's a cold day here in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Where are you at today?
I'm up in the mountains in Malibu, and it is beautiful, sunny California. Definitely doesn't feel like November, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees here in South Carolina, so that's pretty cold for me.
Good luck with that, man. You can keep that. I want nothing to do with it.
Now, I'll assume you didn't grow up in California, right?
No. I grew up in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
And came to California in my early-ish 20s, but went to London before that. So kind of a long road between South Africa and then eventually here.
Awesome. Well, let's start from the beginning. How did your surroundings shape the kind of music you make today?
Sure, it's an interesting question because growing up in South Africa back then, we were kind of shunned from the world. You know, we're going through the apartheid stuff. Me as a kid, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what it meant, but you know, my parents, I was raised by two incredible, loving parents who are still together. I was the youngest of three, definitely a naughty little overactive kid, struggling in school to focus and all the usual stuff. But I got very involved in sports. I started martial arts fighting competitively very young. My dad put me in, I think, when I was like 4 or something like that. Got very involved in that. And then around about 12 or so, my father decided he wanted to go into ministry and be a pastor. So when that happened, it was a really weird story. And I had a lot of ill feelings over this, but it turns out probably good. But I went all the way to nationals. Fighting was my life. And when he became a minister, the church decided it wasn't cool. Me and my brother both were doing it at a high level. And the church decided it was wrong because you would bow and whatever. They just thought it was like against the religion. Mm-hmm. So we were forced, and that was quite jolting. We were forced to stop. And then I have a lot of phases of my life, but whatever I do, I dive deep into. Once that happened, I picked up a skateboard and I just started skating. And so once I started skating, I'm coming back to your music thing, that's where I was really kind of introduced to music. My parents, like when I was younger, would play music in the house or whatever. My grandparents were actually incredible jazz musicians who left England right after the war and went to Africa. So I'll probably get some of my musical talent, hopefully, from them. My grandmother was an unbelievable jazz pianist, my grandfather saxophonist. But once I got into skateboarding, that's when I started understanding more about music, because, you know, the skate culture is the punk rock culture and metal and some of the like underground hip hop and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting because South Africa probably changed who I am as a musician and how my life went. You know, who knows musically what I'd be into. I mean, for example, this is actually a great one. If you haven't seen a documentary called Searching for Sugar Man, you have to. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yep.
Yeah, incredible. So for any of the listeners out there, do yourself a favor, watch that. So perfect example of shaping. This guy was the biggest artist. We thought he was like Elvis Presley. And meanwhile, this guy was just like a bricklayer or whatever from Detroit. He wasn't even known by anyone around the world, but somebody had brought a tape of his music and it blew up in South Africa, and we just thought. So yeah, very interesting growing up in Africa, and I'm sure had a huge kind of shaping to my future.
Awesome. When did music first enter your life? Was drums your first love, or did you pick up other instruments along the way?
Yeah, definitely drums. When I was skating, again, I'll go back to that because that was the thing that really introduced me. One of my mates came with his parents to the US and came back with a VHS of a Faith No More video. We didn't have MTV. We had nothing. So we didn't have musicians, like none of the big bands would come to the country. So I didn't know a lot. So they brought these tapes with Faith No More and Soundgarden. And I remember just Faith No More, and to this day, if someone asks me, like, that's my favorite band of all time, that's probably the reason why I play music. I just remember being in absolute awe. And so while I was skating, I was listening to all these underground bands and, you know, sort of punk rock bands or whatever. I remember Beastie Boys' License to Ill came out. I was super into that. But skating was my whole life. I ended up going pro and I got sponsors and I was competing and traveling a lot with it. And I was just entrenched in the skate world. Skating started kind of suffering a little bit, slowing down. And I must have been 15 or 16, maybe 16. I feel like late for a musician. My father's church, which was a whole nother story because it was very sort of jolting and weird, like obviously being this minister's kid. It was the biggest church in the Southern Hemisphere, the entire Southern Hemisphere. So that's 7,000 people at a time. I think it was 14,000 total. I think it was about 6 or 7 at a time in this church. And I was a kid playing in the youth band, and then I was graduated up to playing in front of all these people as a young kid. I remember sitting, going back to Faith No More, like super into that. I realized this is what I want to do. But I also have to give some props to growing up in that church because they had all the best musicians in the country, or at least in Johannesburg. And I remember just watching the drummer, and he just had all this energy. And I was like, man, that looks like so much fun. So yeah, that's kind of where it really sort of started for me.
Yeah, and you play the guitar and the bass as well, right?
Yeah, so then what happened was we were playing. So we weren't allowed. When I say we, me and my mates who were also, their parents were ministers and stuff, we weren't allowed to listen to music from as they called it, like worldly music. So we were listening to metal, and we had to find these underground Christian bands. There were some amazing bands. I wasn't into like the religious side of it. I was rebelling, whatever, but whatever it took, I wanted to listen to this music. So there were bands like The Crucified and One Bad Pig and Mortification and Vengeance Rising. There were these bands that were really big in the Christian scene. But the cool thing is the music was so heavy that my parents couldn't even understand what they're saying. So then I could just start sneaking in other music, and they wouldn't even know that they weren't Christian. You know what I mean? But me and my mates started playing metal, and I realized that I had the metal voice, but playing drums and playing and singing at the same time, it just didn't really work. And so I started taking bass lessons. The bass player from the church, I think, was the guy. Started taking bass lessons, and my mate Art Matthews, who's an icon in South Africa now, and like probably the biggest rock artist ever there. We all grew up together, and he jumped on drums. I played bass and I was singing, and my mate Brad, who I've known since I was 5 years old, Bradley Rami, big shout out, my boy. We playing metal and I'm playing bass and singing, and all of a sudden we got a record deal. We started playing the local circuit. We had a song on the radio, like whatever, that's where that started happening. And then I did some like little courses. I'd play a bit of guitar, but I was never proficient or very serious about it. Drums is my passion. And, I remember being on stage and it was great, but I'm like, I want to bash those drums, even though I was fronting a band. I'm like, nah, that looks like more fun.
Nice. You mentioned Faith No More and Soundgarden. Who were some of your other biggest musical influences early on? The artists or the bands that really helped, form your sound, would you say? We didn't, because we weren't, we weren't sort of thrown into a big musical culture. Being in Africa, we were very, very limited. I remember when some of the big albums came out in like 91, Nirvana came out and was like, whoa. And then Pearl Jam's 10 came out. Some of the metal stuff. But one of the ones that I really, really loved, which was weird and very different because my taste is eclectic, was Tori Amos. When Tori Amos came out, that was very influential on me. I think it was a girl I was dating that turned me onto it. But when I got that album, I was just like, man, just the beauty of the production and the space and the air and the breath and everything and the way she sings and plays piano. Mm-hmm. And she ended up being actually the first proper concert I ever saw when I went to London. I saw her at the London Palladium, and yeah, she was a big one. But yeah, just a lot of those sort of bands that were happening. Dinosaur Jr., some of the typical like skate punk rock type stuff. No Doubt. Did you like them?
No, that was before, a little bit before that. I was never into that like ska sound. I was more
Gotcha.
into the underground, like just grittier, dirtier. I liked some of the industrial stuff, like Nine Inch Nails and Ministry, bands like that. And then the band that I got super into was a metal band from Brazil called Sepultura. In fact, I have a Sepultura tattoo. It's the first tattoo I ever got. And I loved them because they had this Brazilian tribal sound. They were super heavy,
Yep.
but the drummer played such sick syncopated tribal beats that made that band move. That band was everything. That and Pantera was another one. So some of those heavy but really groove oriented stuff. I didn't like any of the really fast speed blast beats. I wasn't really into that stuff. I'm all about groove. So yeah, some of those guys, I guess.
Good stuff there. You've had such a dynamic career from lustrous breakout success in your cameo and Euro trip to playing with South Africa's biggest rock artist, Art Matthews, and touring around the world. Looking back, what moments stand out the most from those adventures?
Gosh, man, I have had so many unbelievable experiences, and we would need 36 hours to get 10% of it. But, you know, touching on Lustra and that success, I went from South Africa. When I ended the metal band, I was just dying to go on drums. I knew that I wanted to do that for a living, and I moved to London. One-way ticket. I went there. Then Art followed me. He came and stayed with me. We stayed in London. And to put me through school, him and I, we were buskers. We played in the streets of London, and I played African percussion. He played an acoustic guitar and sang. And I remember we had like a coat hanger around his neck to like wire in the microphone so we could move around. And we would play in Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, and we would busk every night, and we would get masses of people. People didn't walk by. They sat in huge circles, 100 people probably, 50, 100, I don't even remember, like a lot of people. And they would just kind of come, and then, you know, people would walk by, they would give us money. And that was my job during drum school. So at night I'm doing that. And then in the day, I'm in school all day, you know, learning drums in school. And that really stands out to me because I'm with my best mate. We're playing music. We were in the streets. We would travel. We played in Paris and stuff and get chased by the cops and all this fun, crazy stuff would happen. But after that, I went back to South Africa with him. We had our band there called Cat Chambers, which turned into Just Ginger, which he still has to this day. It's a massive band. We were playing like 6 nights a week and making a bunch of money and everything was great. But I've always been like, I love to be in that comfortable in the uncomfortable zone. And so I was like, I've got to go to America. All my favorite skaters and bands and everything were like, they're all American. I've got to go there. So anyway, I went to San Francisco, hustled there, played in a bunch of bands. When I first got there, I couldn't make a living. I was a motorcycle messenger. I got hit by a bus. I broke my back. Like all this crazy stuff happened. And I was playing in like 5 bands at a time just to get through. I was teaching drum lessons. And then the music scenes kind of started dying. I moved to LA, and that's when I auditioned for Lustra. They were signed. They left Boston. They went to LA, and I auditioned and got the gig, you know, the sign. So I was straight onto a salary. So that was good. That was comfortable. We were touring and playing, and then we got the opportunity to write that song Scotty Doesn't Know for the movie Eurotrip, which ended up very fortunately becoming a giant global hit and still all over the radio to this day. So that was cool. Those guys were like my brothers, you know, really, really good boys. We had an amazing time, but nothing really touches my experience with playing with my best mates. I actually have cold chills even thinking about it now. I put myself in my mother's living room with my favorite boys in the world, playing metal, barely knowing how to do it and what we're doing, but we thought we sounded amazing. And that's all that matters, right? Because music is about being in the moment, having fun. That experience, playing in the streets of London with Art, those are my favorite experiences, more so those than when I was playing professionally, because when you start playing professionally, the pressure's on, it becomes a job, and it's easy to lose focus of why you're actually doing it. So yeah, looking back, it's not about the times where I was making good money or any of that. It was definitely the times where I was just playing with my mates, you know.
Totally understand that. Now let's talk about your latest chapter, Color of Noise. How did this project come together, and what inspired the name?
Hope you're wearing a seatbelt. Buckle up for this one. I'm going to really touch on probably 1% of it because I don't want to take up all of our time on this. But this came out of the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. I was I'm okay. I'll go kind of directly. I met this girl. I was leaving LA, moving to Texas. I needed a break from LA. She had a 1-year-old kid, and they kind of followed me there. We dated for like a month, and she's like, "Yeah, I need to get out of LA as well." I was like, "Yeah." I bought a place in Texas, and they moved in, and it was just kind of happened very fast. And all of a sudden, I'm a father. I'm realizing I'm, 6 months, 8 months in, I'm realizing I'm in this really strange relationship with this person who was not who I thought she was. I wasn't doing anything. I'm paying all the bills. I'm teaching this kid how to do everything, taking care of him, putting him through school. And as time is going by, I'm like, I've got to get out of this, but I couldn't get out of it because I knew the kid definitely couldn't survive without me. And I had to get out of it. And after about 3.5 years of a very toxic situation, if I told you any of the details of what happened during the relationship, it would just take too long. But imagine the worst case scenario of being in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And after 3.5 years, I said, I'm out. And she went into panic mode because I'm everything. I'm the father. I'm paying every single bill I always have. So she goes, "Can you please give me 2 months to get out of, because it's my house. I owned a house. Give me 2 months to get out of the house and get on my feet." I said, "Okay, but I'm going to leave. I'm not going to stay in this house." Flew her mother to there to take care of the kid for those 2 months. I always wanted to make sure the kid was okay. That's all I cared about. Mm-hmm. I went to Central America, to El Salvador, went there, hung out, surfed, and just started my sort of healing process. Wasn't thinking about music at all. I'd produced a bunch of music for her because she was a very talented singer, but she did nothing with it. And I was just burnt out. I get back 2 months after the 2 months, and I send her a text when I land at the airport saying, "Hey, I'm on my way, just making sure where you've left the keys or whatever." And as I get there, the cops are waiting for me. The locks are changed, and my whole life turns upside down.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh my God, the cops won't let me on the property. She lied, told them a bunch of stuff. And that was where everything sort of turned super chaotic. My mate drove all the way from Austin to Dallas, picked me up, went to a hotel that night, and then I couch surfed. I eventually came back to LA because I couldn't get in my house, went to court, had to go back there, went to court 3 times, to eviction court. They weren't doing anything. And on the 3rd time, when all the paperwork was lined up and ready to go, she filed for divorce on me. We were never married, so she lied. This is where things got really crazy. I had to hire private investigators. I had to hire the biggest law firm in Dallas that handles family law. Well, this went on for years.
Wow.
21 court cases later, 21 court appearances with multiple judges all the way to the highest court. I won every step of the way because she never had 1 page of evidence, and I had hundreds. If I stood on that, I could probably dunk a basketball. I had hundreds of pages of evidence. It finally ends. I'm literally not giving you 1%. It finally ends, but then I realize I'm still not going to be able to get out of my house. So I go back to Texas with my mate. Shout out to Prince Alex Duarte. My boy flies with me. We go to Dallas. My other mate, Mark, who picked me up originally, he meets us to get me out of there. But I go and I've set up cameras around the neighborhood. The neighbors are helping because they don't want her near. It's all these drug people are coming in and out of the place because there was drugs, there was everything involved. I set up all the cameras until nobody's there because I don't want the kid to be around. I want to deal with anything. So I break into my house. Now, this whole time, I haven't seen my dogs in 2.5 years, and I'm a major dog person. I break in. They are stuck in the laundry room at 108-degree weather. One of them is bleeding. Oh, it was unbelievable. I walk in there, and I just have a breakdown. There's dog feces and urine all over the couches, all over the floor. Nothing has happened. So the dogs are left. I don't know where she was at this point, but the cameras show that they had gone. That's all that matters. I get in there. She arrives. The cops arrive, and I have a stand-up with the cops. They're trying to make me let her in. I'm refusing, and they want to arrest me, and we're going back and forth. Anyway, I change the locks. They leave, and they keep coming. Then she files for some other more lies, and they keep coming back. For 30 days, I barricade myself in the house. all the lights, curtains, locks, everything changed. I clean. I clean, I get the place ready to get on the market. I thought I'd sold it. It fell through the last second, but I had to get out of there because my life was in danger too. She was sending these cronies coming into the cul-de-sac. I would see them putting their lights. I mean, I was in serious danger. This is Texas. Everyone has guns. I don't carry a gun. So anyway, that's the very short of it. After 30 days, I end up just getting a 10 and 10. My mate Mark picks me up. I jump in the car. We drive across country with the dog and get to LA. I have a bunch of best mates. I'm very fortunate to have good people in my life. Travis Schmidt and his beautiful wife Becca. They bought a house in Malibu. They have a bunch of land, and he's like, just take a piece of land. I built a little container home because I was like running around homeless, just, wherever I could stay. Mm-hmm. And I did that, and she had sold everything I own, which I have judgments against her for all that stuff, like proof of all of it. But I'll never see any of it. It doesn't matter.
I'm sure you won't.
My studio, my life's work, everything gone. Computers, drives, everything gone. Well, I just buy a small little setup in my little tiny home, and all of a sudden, I didn't write an album, and I know this is long, but I promise it's not nearly 1% of the story. I'm trying to get to the point. The point is I bought this very small setup. I got a bass and a guitar, didn't even own drums, everything, all my stuff was gone. And I just started recording. I did not write a single chord. I didn't write a single lyric. It was really weird. Usually you do an album and you write, you change, you practice, maybe you play in front of people, you dial it in. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I had no plans to release anything. I just started recording, and every day another song I fully recorded. Now I'm just doing drum programming, but I'm doing everything in essentially, for the most part, one take. Whatever comes out of me, it's like, that's the bass line. Boom, pick up the guitar, record the guitar. Great, done. Let me do another little guitar line. Okay, cool, done. Little keyboard line, microphone, start singing. I never considered myself a front man. I was always, way more into playing drums, but I can play everything, good enough. I've produced a lot of artists in my life, and, I can do all of that, but it was literally just for the therapy of it. I needed to just get this shit out of me. And before you knew it, I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, well, maybe I could get other, artists to come, guest singers, guest play. And I was like, only on one song, my really good friend Kent Brisley, he did a couple of gigs as well with Lustre. He's playing a lot of bands with me. I brought him in for one guitar part of a song because I love his sound. But that was it. I went to a studio called Native South Studios. Shout out Jonathan, you legend, because I told him my story. I was broke. I lost almost $1 million through this whole process, through all these different aspects of it. So my whole life's work, all my money. Told him the story. He's like, come, he has an amazing studio in LA. I recorded all the drum parts, just banged it out in a day for the whole album. And then I mixed everything on a boat. I bought this old boat from the 70s in Marina Del Rey, gutted it out, turned it into a studio. I'm actually making little YouTube videos of the process of it now, which is really fun. And I mixed the whole album. I just wanted to be on the water. And I mixed the album on the boat. And that was like, when did I finish that? A few months ago. I mean, only the second single is out now. And I put out a single. I shot a bunch of short form videos, put out another single, did the same thing. And that's kind of copy paste what I'm doing right now. And now I'm just trying to use this for good. I was just on a podcast last week, a men's mental health podcast, telling more of like the grit of the story,
right?
And just just bring some healing to the world through music, which is really what music is, right?
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you sound like you're doing better, so I'm glad that at least you're starting to rebound and stuff from this. It sounded like a horrible experience.
Yeah. No. Listen, it's. I've realized, I was saying this on the other podcast too, I've realized I've always been addicted to chaos, extreme sports, drums and rock and roll bands, and just everything. I'm always on that chase. And I look at this and I'm like, listen, man, you should have known better. I saw flags. You go through life and you either turn, lemon into lemonade, or you just, have a sour lemon face, I guess. But I'm doing great. I appreciate the experience. I went through a bunch of back surgeries during that relationship, and my health was going down and everything. And, I'm still chasing that, trying to like figure that out. But through all of these experiences breeds a beautiful creative path, and it allows you to express yourself. And that's it, man. I'm grateful for everything. I'm alive. That's all that matters. I came out of it alive, which I honestly didn't know if I would or not. So happy camper over here.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad everything did work out for you. The debut album, Noise Therapy, is set to drop on the 1st of December. You got, 2 singles out already. What's the story behind the title, and what kind of emotions are you channeling through this record?
Yeah, so Noise Therapy. So when I was playing with names, me and my childhood mate, the guitar player Brad Rami, who I mentioned earlier, called him. He's a writer, a super smart guy, and I called him, and we were bouncing names like, where should we go? And I liked noise in the name, and I think he came up with the color of part or something. So we came up with the name together. But I liked Noise Therapy as well, because that to me is what it is. It's the therapy. It's mic therapy. It is a noisy, dark, gritty album telling a story of chaos, mixed in with some redemption. But that's the whole thing with Noise Therapy. I just felt like that worked, and it fits in with the color of noise. That's sort of the theme of the whole thing. The emotion wise, I mean, the first single, My Way, which is doing really, really well on a lot of playlists, it's getting a lot of love. So that one, I threw that one out first. I just thought it was fun and catchy, but not for any specific reason. But they're all about the same thing, but slightly different emotions and slightly different things. The My Way one is about the process with the courts and all that stuff, and me talking about doing a My Way. One of the things that happened is she sent me an extortion letter saying, "Give me $100,000 and I'll get you out, and I will leave. I'll get out of the house." Well, wow. I could have done that, and it would have cost me way less time, stress, money, but I refused, because I even called my father, who I respect more than anyone. I was like, "Dad, I have to do the right thing. This cannot continue," because I found out that this had happened to multiple men. So there's a whole track record of this con artist stuff, right? So I was like, I've got to do the right thing. So that My Way song is about that, me doing it my way, not doing that, and just buckling to that, the pressure of that, and doing it for the sake of other men, and just doing the right thing, man. That's what I was standing for. Lazy Daisy is a slightly different one. That's single number 2 that just came out a week ago. Mm-hmm. That's my experience of feeling like I'm a single father with someone else's kid, and having to do all the work and everything, living with somebody who's external. The outside is this pretty little daisy, but isn't quite that. So that's that one. And then the next one comes out on the 1st of December. That's called Sleepless Nights. That's a more sort of melodic, not as wild punk, sort of post-punk sound. It's maybe a little more to the alternative rock. That one is about my experience of not sleeping for 3 years. I was sleeping between 1 to 2.5 hours every night for a 3-year period.
Wow.
And my experience of that, and living in an extreme amount of pain, the stress, waking up in the mornings exhausted, not knowing where I am, opening my computer with this, like, when you're a naughty boy in school. Well, I used to get whipped by the teachers all the time, and you have that feeling of, oh God, I got to go into the teachers, I got to go to the principal's office. It was like that every time I opened my computer. I'm like, what's it going to be from the courts? What's it going to be from my lawyers? So that's some of the experience of the Sleepless Night one, and that'll be out on the 1st, and I might not release the whole album on the 1st. I think I might release the rest of the whole album on Christmas. So that's nice. Kind of to be determined, but yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Very cool. Now that we've heard the stories behind the songs, let's listen to one of them. Here's Lazy Daisy.
I know you're sweet as a daisy. I come through, you're always so lazy. I know you're driving me crazy. I come through, you're always so lazy. I know you're sweet as a daisy. Come through, you're always so lazy. I know you're driving me crazy. I come through. enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yes. I see you're always crazy. Eyes come through. You're always so crazy. You're cold out. It's a oopsie daisy. I come through. You from your sleazy. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yes. Through and through, you're sweet as a daisy, but I know you. Through and through, you're sweet as a daisy. Through and through, but I know you. You're always so lazy. Through and through, you're nothing but crazy. Not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yes. There's not enough of the yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yeah, 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 yes. There's not enough of the yes.
Wow, what a track, Bruce. Can you walk us through your creative process? When do you sit down to write or produce? Where does a song usually begin for you?
Yeah, like I said earlier, this one is unlike anything I've done. I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of the big producers in music, and I've learned a lot from them, which I usually would use in any of my process producing artists. However, this one, because this was such a personal one, and I didn't write an album, I recorded an album. It was a very different process. So, for example, Lazy Daisy, I remember starting with the boom, 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 boom. That bass line was in my head. And that usually comes to me while I'm driving. I'll be driving down the PCH. We had the LA fires. I have a song about the LA fires as well. And I like seeing all the burnt buildings all on the beach. I drive past that every day. I would come up with a lot of stuff because it really fit with the chaos I was going through and what LA was happening. I would come up with these things. I remember just kind of having this little bass line. When I came up, that was the first thing I did. I just set a metronome and I just recorded the bass, and then I just started programming drums. And everything's, like I said, basically one take. Just, this is it. If I made a mistake, obviously I would fix it. But just more so, not performance, but more so keeping it raw and keeping it real like music used to be, instead of, Pro Tools and everything has to be perfect and lined up. And if it, I love imperfection. So if there's a slight, imperfection here or there, like Kurt Cobain's a great example. His voice would go in and out of pitch when he was really emotional. And to me, that's beautiful. So I would then pick up the guitar, I'd do something, I'd do another part, just keyboard, a little quick line would come in my head. I'd grab the mic and I'd start singing. And it's just kind of like I already have the melody in my head of what I'm going to sing while I'm recording guitar and keyboards and stuff. It's like I'm multitasking. I'm always sort of all over the map, right? You can probably tell. Like I can talk a lot, and I'm a little bit chaotic. But musically, that's how it works for me. By the time I turn the mic on, I'm already singing, and I'm sort of almost like freestyle rap. I'm not as talented as those guys, man. That to me is unbelievable. I can't do that, but somehow I did channel a bit of that, and I just would sing. And then I would listen back and I'd be like, okay, cool. And I would go back and then I would maybe write a couple of lyrics down, figure out like, oh, I'll add this, and then I would do it again with those lyrics in it, and that's it. Boom, done. I would add harmonies and just quick one take harmonies to all of it. Once it was done, it was done. I would do like a rough mix, and then, like I said, I would go to Native South Studios in the end and go and actually record the drums for the whole album, because you got to have live drums. It's rock and roll, baby.
That's right, man. Good stuff there. You've worked across so many styles, from jazz and hip hop to rock and commercial music for major brands like Nissan, even Playboy TV. How did those different experiences shape how you approach producing Color of Noise?
Yeah, I think I was one of the kids in bands. When I would work with producers, I've worked with a lot of really, really good, well-respected producers, especially in rock, but in other styles. And when I was in bands, most of my career was freelancing as a drummer. I realized early on, if I don't play in multiple bands and make money that way, then you're constantly just like chasing, getting a record deal. You go through the disappointments. I've been on major labels. I've been on indie labels. I've been in bands that have gone nowhere. I put so much energy into it. I love the idea of producing, because it's like when you watch a movie and you think about who the director is, he's in control, right? He's directing what's going on, and a producer does that with a band in the studio. Band brings in their ideas. The producer's job is to be an outside ear and find parts that can make it a little bit better, even if it's 5%. Sometimes it's 100%. But I'd sit in with all these big producers, and when everyone else leaves because they're tired or they want to go to the bar and have drinks while the producer's mixing or is editing, I stayed. And I was like, I'm going to learn. I love it. I didn't know if I was going to be a producer. I love being a drummer, but I loved this aspect. And so those experiences in the studio, learning from how they were cabling to editing, but most importantly, just like the creative side of what they were doing, ideas. And I would chat. I would just sit and talk to them. And for the most part, they were cool. They would answer questions and didn't mind me, because as a producer, it's hard to have somebody like chatting to you while you're trying to work. But I got a lot of love that way, and yeah, that shaped who I was as a producer. I started writing. I do some TV commercials. I got pulled into Playboy TV. I became a TV audio mixer. I was mixing some shows at Universal and Playboy TV, and then I was writing some of the syncs for it. And I kind of used all these different experiences into what I'm doing now with Color of Noise. And what's cool is I took such a big break from music that when I did this, it just came out of me. This is the first time I can truly say this wasn't thought about. This was a proper labor of love. It was a way for me to deal with a very, very traumatic experience. Now, I'm a very positive guy, so I'm very fortunate. I'm just built that way. I haven't had to do therapy. I haven't had to do that. I'm big into biohacking. I'm big into health. I do cold plunges. I do saunas, all that stuff every day. But the mic was my real therapy. I got it out. And yeah, that's that, those experiences and just the way I live my day-to-day life, getting in the ocean, all these things, being around good men as well. I'm very fortunate that I can sit around a fire like old school style and chat to real strong men who are a proper support group. And all of these things, and I can't speak highly enough about the guys that I've mentioned through this, those names, how they've helped shape me as a man, but also given me the opportunity and helped me along the way, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Great stuff there. You've earned quite a few accolades, winning Best Film, TV Song at the Independent Music Awards, even a LA Music Award with Penny Royal. And now you're launching something entirely new. How does it feel to be starting this new artistic chapter?
Oof, it is. It's incredible. It's also overwhelming. Because I wasn't expecting to go down this road. I am still keeping a very open mind with it, staying in a sort of a labor of love state with it, so that I'm not, trying to set myself up for disappointment. I am not trying to do anything for anybody else. If people don't like it, I don't care. I've done this for me. I've done it my way, like the song says.
Right.
And I believe that if you do it your way, then the listeners are going to follow. It's very important to do it the way you want to do it, because for too many years, I've been in bands where you're chasing trends, you're under pressure from record labels. You're like, oh, this is the big band. Now you need to do a song that sounds like this. And you start getting out of your comfort zone in terms of what you're good at. And this is what I did. I went back to my roots. I wrote a sort of post-punk, dirty groove rock type album. And now it's the interesting thing is I've gone from that, the creative process is done, but now I'm like, okay, I don't have a manager anymore. I don't have a record label anymore. I don't have any of this. I am doing everything. I've got a little team. I've got a guy named Vaughn. Shout out to him. He's a great videographer. If anyone needs one in LA, I will absolutely hook you up with him. We shoot some short form stuff, just little quick promo stuff for Instagram. It's just to throw it out there, get it out there, see what people think. I'm more interested in people getting something out of this, and feeling proud of this product, this piece of art that I'm putting out, than making money. Yes, do I need to recover? I lost basically everything. Of course, it would be great to do well and be rewarded financially at the end of the day. But I don't care about money. I count my dollars in smiles, to be honest. And then whatever happens. But yeah, a very different process. I'm a talk about a one-man band. Every instrument, singing, mixing, mastering, hustling, promoting, managing, it's doing all of that is a lot. So I'm doing probably 12 to 14 hour days consistently. But I love it. Life is good, man.
Yeah, we've been talking, communicating anyways, via email, and you had mentioned that you've gotten your first review. How did that feel?
Excuse me, having a little sip of water. Yes, very nice. I got a great review from a French magazine, and another one just came in actually today. I haven't even read it yet, but yeah, it's good because my music has been submitted to a lot of curators. I'm getting on a ton of playlists. I got on a really cool 1,000 best rock songs of all time playlist. My Way was just put on. So there's some cool little nuggets that can also help. You got to stay motivated and excited and stuff. I don't care. Again, yes, did it make me feel good? Yes, it makes me feel good. But I also get, when you submit songs, I also get rejections, and I love those. I see them and I love the honesty. They're like, oh, this or this, I feel like this is not commercial enough. And I'm like, good, because I'm breaking a lot of the rules of songwriting with the way I've done this. I only want specific people to love my music. I'm not interested in the masses loving my music, because I don't, good for them, make all your money, get the accolades, that's great. But I would way rather a specific amount of people get something real out of my music and actually connect with the songs and maybe get some therapy out of them and maybe get some healing out of them than just have songs on the radio. It's that stuff. I don't care about that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Any plans to submit any of the music to some of these indie award shows?
Good question. I have not even thought about it. I don't care about awards. Would I be honored to have one and be on one of those? Absolutely. But it's, you're saying it and I have not even thought about it. I'm just, I don't even think about it. So how about you? You submit one for me.
I could definitely point you in the right direction. We can talk about that off the air.
Cool, man. Thanks.
No problem. Before we wrap things up, where can the listeners find Color of Noise online and follow you for new music or videos or even any updates?
Yeah, I just finished building the website yesterday. That is colorofnoisemusic.com, and I think it's password protected right now, but within the next few days that'll be sorted out. It's got the Shopify account, it's got the Color of Noise merchandise and everything, tour dates when that does happen. I am mostly active probably on Instagram, because I think with people and fans and stuff, they can contact you, and I find like it's a pretty good way to talk to people. That is Con, as in CON, like Color of Noise, and also the Con experience I went through, Con_Color of Noise. I have a YouTube channel called @Color of Noise, and I put all my short form videos. That one's doing great. It's exploding, actually. Facebook. I'm on all the usual social media stuff. You can email me directly from the website. If you are, interested in me playing or whatever. One of the things that I just came up with that's actually very exciting to me is, again, I want to do things very differently. I'm not going to just go and get a bunch of musicians in LA and just start playing out and doing that. Like, I want to play meaningful shows. And by doing that, what I want to do as a one-man band is I want to create relationships. It's probably easier said than done, but the fantasy for me, and I think will be really cool because it also creates all these relationships with artists, is, let's say, like, I'm getting a big fan base right now in Latin America. So let's say Medellin, Colombia, right? What I want to do, instead of taking a band there, what I want to do is hire local musicians to be my band wherever I go. Now, I know it probably sounds crazy, but if you have high-level musicians, I can send my music to high-level musicians, and we shouldn't even have to rehearse. And if there are mistakes, then great. That's part of the vibe. We've never played together. And I think that is going to be really cool. So if I go to Cape Town, South Africa, I'll get my mates there to be the band, or wherever I am. That's kind of the vibe. So any of you that are out there, you want me to play in your city, just know that it's going to be an interesting experience. You're going to see a lot of different faces backing me as the band.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And then you could just let everybody know, like, every city you visit, say, hey, this is our first time playing together live. And, I hope you enjoy it, and it's probably going to come out pretty cool,
I think so. And of course, musicians also have their own fan base, so they'll probably bring people, and it creates this cool community, So we'll see. Easier said than done, but for me, nothing stops me, man. That's the plan. I'll make it work.
Awesome. Finally, is there anything you'd like to add? Maybe a message to the fans or something we didn't cover today?
Message to the fans. I would say this would be non-music related. I would say we need to get to the point in our world where we start to, perhaps if we could just levitate as a species, levitate and look down on who we are and who we've become, and what we do to each other and how we treat each other, how we treat the planet, all that stuff, and maybe try to make some changes, because I feel as it's an exciting time that we're living with technology, all this stuff, but we're also so lost. We all live in a very selfish lane. We're all, stuck on our phones. I would love for people to stop choosing sides. I feel like politically we are such a mess. Everyone's a sheep now. It's like, I'm this guy, I'm the left, I'm the right, and everyone's fighting. It's like, why are we doing this? So let's get back to some form of normalcy, even if this, I don't know, maybe this resonates with somebody. But I want to use my music. For me, that's what art is. It's a way of healing. It's a way of laughter. It is so fun. I mean, if you imagine this world without music, it would be horrendous, right? I mean, music gets people through everything. It gets you through your drive. It gets you through relationship breakups. It gets you through your gym workouts, whatever it might be. My goal is to, yes, this album is angry, and if it's too much for you, then turn it off. But there is a message behind it. And, we have to get to a point where we have to stop being so nasty to each other. The experience I went through is so chaotic. If I told you any of the details, it would be too much. It is nasty. And the fact that we do that to each other in this world, to me, is just shocking. We have to get to the point where we can take a step back and just try to lead with love. Just calm down, everybody. Like, seriously, calm down. I hope that my album has some form of message that can be helpful. And what excites me the most is the next album I already have going in my head. I haven't touched a guitar, thought about parts, but in my head, my next album is the happy album. This is the one, this is the dirty one, but the next one's going to be really happy, man. And hopefully that one brings a different form of, therapy to the listeners.
Yeah. I mean, people got to realize, sometimes the best therapy doesn't come from a couch. It actually comes through the speakers.
Yeah. Amen to that. The real ones know, man. When you're a music fanatic, you know what music has like the darkest times, what music can pull you through. It is a miracle. To me, it's a lot stronger than sitting on a couch talking to a stranger. And God bless you if you believe in therapy. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Of course it works. But everybody is different. You have to find something that also helps with whatever you're going through. Sitting on a couch talking to somebody is not going to cut it alone. Go learn how to surf. Go jump out of an airplane. Whatever it is, start ice bars, eat healthier, surround yourself with good people. I'm going to speak for men because this is what I'm focused. Men's mental health is at its worst right now. Men's suicide rate is at its worst. Men's incarceration rates at its worst. We have to get to a point where men can start to feel strong and powerful again. Pull those toxic and masculinity words away from each other. Masculinity is incredibly important. Men, we just gotta own who we are, because the world is trying to squash us and crush us and be like, oh, that's not good. It's not good to be masculine. It's a very tricky time we live in, but let's hope that things start to turn. And again, my tiny little part that I can play is put this music, and I've been reached out to by some people already that are saying that it's helpful, and otherwise, if not mine, find another band. There's lots of good music out there to listen to, and also I will say this: anyone who wants to reach out to me, whenever I have the time, I will do my best. I will get back to you if you have questions or need a bit of help, or you want me to, whatever it is, hook you up with my videographer or a studio, or just need to talk or need help. Hit me up and I will help you through it.
Great stuff, Bruce. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a blast chatting with you.
Thank you, man. I know it's a lot. I hope it was fun listening for you and the viewers, and what an honor to be on your podcast. Thank you so very, very, very much to have an opportunity to spread my story and my music. And I would love to do another one down the road as things move along,
Oh, we can definitely do that. Anytime you want to come back, especially when you maybe drop a new album or something like that. I'd love to have you back on. All right.
Thank you, sir. Very kind of you. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Well, you're welcome. And you enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
What an incredible conversation, and what a story of resilience, creativity, and redemption. Bruce has proven that sometimes the most powerful records aren't born in luxury studios, but the storms we survive. We're going to close things out with a track that captures that late-night reflection. The calm after the chaos. It's emotional, haunting, and beautifully honest. Here's Sleepless Nights by Color of Noise. I'm James Michael Hollenstein, and this has been The Record Machine Show. Remember, sometimes the best therapy doesn't come from a couch. It comes through the speakers. Until next time, keep those records spinning.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Hall Productions, all rights reserved. For distribution information or to add this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.